Welcome to the 6th video session of our Centers of Hope training. My name is Jim Mukoyama, and I am a retired Army Major General, disabled Vietnam combat veteran, and founder of Military Outreach USA. This, together with the next video session, will comprise the third unit in our Warrior Hope program that deals with peace. Peace to me is not the absence of war. Rather, it is the absence of fear. It is mentioned in the book of John, chapter 14, verse 27, when Jesus said, quote, "I am leaving you with a gift, peace of mind and heart. So don't be troubled or afraid," unquote. I never worried about my personal safety when I was in combat because I knew if the Lord took me, I would be in a better place. My chief concern was screwing up as a commander because mistakes could result in the loss of the lives of soldiers entrusted to me, the most precious commodity we have. When you have no fear, you have joy, which results in a peace that surpasses all understanding. Now, this session will specifically address Chapter 7, Facing the Past. The truth is, unless you let go, unless you forgive yourself, unless you forgive the situation, unless you realize the situation is over, you cannot move forward. As we will continue to emphasize, the warrior healing process involves an approach that deals with the whole person, mental, emotional, and physical. When any component is not addressed, the healing process is flawed. How one deals with the past can have a dramatic impact on how they live in the present. If a past event has become an anchor that keeps you from moving forward, it must be addressed. The good news is that hope is available. General William Tecumseh Sherman, who led Union troops through Georgia during the Civil War, advised in a speech to graduating cadets at the military academy years after the war, quote, "You don't know the horrible aspects of war. I've been through 2 wars and I know. I've seen cities and homes in ashes. I've seen thousands of men lying on the ground, their dead faces looking up at the skies. I tell you, war is hell. It is only those who have not heard a shot, nor heard the shrills and groans of wounded and lacerated, friend or foe, that cry aloud for more blood and more vengeance, more desolation," unquote. Now, here are the basic facts. In the military, we're constantly moving, and when an invisible, not physical wound occurs, we don't have time to stop and think about it. So what do? You bury it, and it becomes unresolved guilt and shame. These suppressed memories can stay with the warrior for months, years, even decades. Now, those who have not served can never fully understand. Now, this is not a fault, it's just a fact. When we experience an invisible wound of war, especially moral injury, such as a loss of a comrade, we return home with a hole in our heart. To fill that hole, our soul is the key to our failure or success. An unresolved past can result in a vicious cycle of thoughts and emotions as listed on this slide: anger, hopelessness, depression, despair, alienation from others, and feelings of unworthiness. These negative thoughts and emotions can grow, and the past becomes like quicksand, dragging you further and further into it. Don't let the past paralyze you from being successful in the present, and equally important, moving forward. Don't try to force your experience completely out of your memory, because there were some good memories, even during the worst of times. And others have had that experience with you. Now, solutions are available that don't involve self-medication by drugs or alcohol. Foxhole Soul counselors, clergy, chaplains, therapists, and warrior groups can help. Whatever your past experience, do not try to go it alone. Now, there is hope. Here are examples of potential situations that involved family and finances, survivor guilt, and military sexual trauma. Testimony 1. The veteran returned from Iraq, wife left with kids, house defaulted, VA issues, and a bad personal past. Today, that person is strong in faith, remarried, with kids, large family, job, house, managing small groups. Testimony 2 is the veteran returned from Afghanistan. Memories of war buddies that died. Family abandoned, pressed their uniform, set a date to end everything. Today, that person is walking in faith. Issue less intense with the VA, is remarried, and volunteers and includes a small group of his war buddies. Testimony 3 is an individual who was raped in service, divorced, could not hold relationships, lost a desire to continue. And I might add, do not assume that this veteran is a female. Today, that person is strong in faith, remarried, has a family, and volunteers and counsels men and women. As you can see, all were successfully resolved because the individuals took advantage of the help available, some from help of Foxhole Soul counselors. And now, I'd like to add my personal testimony at this time. I've often wondered why I haven't had the problems of nightmares, anger, and restlessness of many of my Vietnam veteran comrades. Having worked with veterans dealing with the invisible wounds of war for decades, I've come to realize, in addition to my faith and wonderful, supportive wife of over 50 years, that an incident in 1969 in the Mekong Delta was critical to my recovery. I was commanding an infantry company, and we had just overrun an enemy position, killing numerous Viet Cong, and in fact, I had 3 dead Viet Cong bodies at my feet. Now, the time a unit is most vulnerable is right after a victory. It's just human nature to breathe a sigh of relief and let your guard down. I was the commander, the professional. I knew that. So I was on my radio barking orders to my platoon leaders, telling them to take care of their wounded, redistribute ammunition, look for enemy avenues of approach, and suddenly, in the midst of all the commotion, I stopped. I looked at the 3 bodies at my feet and realized that something had happened to me. Something had hardened my heart. Only moments earlier, these were children of God with emotions, families, and were fighting for a cause as important to them as I was. And I was in their backyard. I then remembered Jesus' Sermon on the Mount, where he told us to pray for our enemies. So I did. I said a prayer for the 3 Viet Cong and their families, but I also knew that I was praying for myself as well. Now, I didn't have a big ceremony and get on my hands and knees. All of this happened in my head and heart and took probably 30 seconds, but it has remained embedded in me ever since. I now realize that I was one in a million who was able to address my moral injury at the moment it happened. Regarding the past, let God forgive you. Concentrate on the good memories and the good things in the present and move forward with such an attitude. The Apostle Paul suffered through beatings, shipwrecks, and imprisonment. Yet, he still was positive rather than dwelling on the past. He learned the power of focusing on the positive. He offered the following encouragement to others in his letters to the Philippians, chapter 4, verse 8, quote, "Whatever things are true, whatever things are noble, whatever things are just, whatever things are pure, whatever things are lovely, whatever things are of good report, if there is any virtue, and if there is anything praiseworthy, meditate on those things." Now, there are many tools available for growing above our circumstances and being released by the anchors of the past, but not by yourself. Moving forward will require you to deal with the past. If you're going to move into the present, you must begin to deal with the past. The good news is you don't have to do this by yourself. Find those battle buddies and service providers who will help you deal with the obstacles in the past and walk with you in the present. If you're trying to do it on your own, remember that when on mission, you were part of a team. You are still part of a team. Let others help you face the past and find your mission in the present. Together, we will make it. Now, there are two important things. Number one, it wasn't all bad. It included some good memories. Number two, others were there who shared the experience with you. The challenge is either to stay in the past pages of your story or to move forward by turning the page. You can't grab hold of your future with two hands on the past. You've got to let go. Our next video session will deal with your next steps in chapters 8 and 9 and complete our discussion of Unit 3, which is peace. Our Foxhole Soul Counselors stand ready to offer hope and help. The next video session will complete Unit 3, which addresses peace.